for another fun project. This is the Sanibel blanket. This blanket, the colors and the tones remind me a bit of Sanibel Island. I took a vacation there once with my sisters, just us sisters, and I have the fondest memories of the most quirky museum, silly seashells, and it was just so much fun. So I thought the colors really reminded me of our trip to Sanibel. So this is a Sanibel blanket. It's a really fun textured blanket that's really easy to work up. It's one of those projects that's nice to just have around, and you can mindlessly work it as you watch your favorite Netflix show. Now you can make this blanket as small or as big as you want based on how many stitches you start with and then how long you would want it to go. What I'm going to do for this video, because this pattern is free on my blog, so what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to just simply walk you through a swatch of the stitches so that you can get started. I'm going to be using this color for the video along with my size L Furls Streamline 7mm hook that was great for this yarn. I really like how fast I can crochet with these with the Brava yarn. And the Brava yarn I found at WeCrochet. I absolutely love this for a premium acrylic. Their colors are amazing. So you can choose whichever colors you would like to go together or do it in a solid. All these links are found in the pattern. So let's get started. How happy am I that my hook kind of matches my yarn? This is why I keep collecting these amazing hooks from Furls Crochet. I love the streamline as well as the different colors they come in. They're so much fun. For this blanket swatch, we are going to start with a slip knot and place that onto our hook. And then we are going to chain 12. For row 1, we will be starting in the second chain from the hook, and we will be single crocheting across for 11 total stitches. The thing to remember whenever you're working up a swatch or a new stitch, it's always a good idea to grab some stitch markers and mark the first and the last stitches in your row. That way you know that your stitch count is more likely to be accurate and you're not going to be adding or missing any stitches. So I'll be grabbing some stitch markers before starting this next row. So I'm going to mark the first stitch in this row, make sure that I have 11 stitches, and now I'm going to turn my work. I'll start this row 2 by chaining 1, and now we will single crochet into the third loop of every single stitch and across. So what the third loop is when we look at a stitch construction, we see on the top here, we see these V's. If we rotate our work, we see this line here that's facing us now, and this is the third loop. The very first one is a bit tricky because you don't want to miss it, and it's that horizontal line that is on the back of the stitch, but when we turn it, now it's facing us. So we will single crochet across in that third loop, and what it does is on our right side of work, because this is the wrong side of our work, is it creates almost like a knit-like stitch here that runs across. It's really fun. It's a small detail. If working in the third loop is difficult for you or you don't want to, it's fine to just do this as a regular single crochet, maybe even in the back loop only. The blanket will still have a lot of texture and turn out great. As I get to the end of the row here, I'm going to remove my stitch from the row below because I am turning, chaining 1, and I need that stitch marker to mark this first stitch for row 3. For row 3, I will single crochet into that very first stitch, mark that stitch, and then for my next stitch, I will be doing a treble crochet. To do a treble crochet stitch, we are going to yarn over twice, insert our hook into that next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we will yarn over and pull through 2 stitches on the hook. Do that again, yarn over and pull through 2, and one last time, yarn over and pull through 2. That's the treble crochet. Now in the next stitch, we will single crochet. What this does is it creates that bump. For this row, I'm always going to be pushing that treble crochet to the front of the work. So for this row, I'm going to be pushing it towards me. Then I'm going to repeat that. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, and complete that treble crochet. and in the very next stitch, single crochet. So we're going to repeat that across until our last stitch. We're going to do a treble crochet, a single crochet, repeating that again, doing my treble, and then in my very last stitch of the row, I will do a single crochet. I'm going to remove that stitch marker, complete that last stitch. So it's just a row of single crochet and treble all the way across. For row 4, I will chain 1, place a single crochet into the first stitch and mark it. And for the rest of row 4, we will, I lose my hook there. For the rest of row 4, we are simply single crocheting. So just single crochet all the way across. Now for rows 5 through 8, so for the next 4 rows, we will be repeating row 3 and 4. So we will repeat row 3 where we do a single crochet into the first, and then a treble crochet into the next, and work that all the way across until our last stitch we do a single crochet. So we're just repeating row 3, and then we'll repeat row 4, which is just a single crochet stitch, and then I'm going to come back on row 9. I've turned, and now for row 11, this is where it gets a little bit fun. We are going to start by chaining 1, and now we are going to skip our first stitch. We will do a half double crochet into the next stitch, and we will definitely mark this row. That is our very first stitch in this row. Now we are going to work a puff stitch into our skip stitch. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, bring up a loop, pull up that loop to be the same height as your working yarn, and then we are going to do that again. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then we're going to do that one more time. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop. So now we have 7 loops on our hook. We will yarn over and pull through all the loops, and that's our first puff stitch. Now we're going to be repeating that across where we skip the next stitch and then half double crochet. And then we're going to go back to our skip stitch and work a puff stitch. So once again, we'll skip the next stitch and half double crochet, go back to the skip stitch and work a puff stitch. We're going to work that all the way across until our very last stitch. And now we are going to turn, chain 1, and do that again. Being sure to mark that very first stitch, because now we know what stitch we need to end on for this row. So we will skip the first stitch and half double crochet. Oh, sorry, did I chain 1? Oh, I did. Sorry about that. We'll skip the first stitch and half double crochet, mark that first stitch. And now we're going to go back to our skip stitch and do a puff stitch. And then repeat that across until the last stitch. Skip a stitch, half double crochet, go back to the skip stitch and puff stitch. And then in the very last stitch, we will half double crochet. Now that we've completed row 11, or row 12, I just want to tell you what happens for the rest. So here's what's really fun about this pattern is that it is now just simply repeating what we already did. So we worked the first 12 rows, working back this way for row 13 through 14. They're simply single crochet rows, just like we did for row 9 and 10. And then for row 15 through 20, we have repeat rows 3 through 8. And then for our very last row, we do a repeat of row 2 where we're single crocheting in the 3rd loop. So this is where I'm going to stop for the video, since everything from here on out is just simply repeating. When you do the treble stitches for these rows, you'll be pushing it to the opposite a lot. Instead of pushing it to the front of the work, you might be pushing it to the back of your work, just the way that the rows line up. But just always push that treble crochet to the right side of your work, and that way it has a lot of texture. So this is a really fun and relaxing blanket because a lot of the rows are just repeats of previous stuff that we've done. You can go ahead and jump over to the blog and see the written patterns so that you can keep track of the rows that you're doing. And I really hope you enjoy working up this blanket. It's a lot of fun. It's very relaxing. And I really loved how this turned out. I just simply changed colors after doing the sections of the repeats so that it has some striping to it, but you can always work it in a solid. And I really hope you enjoy working this cozy blanket up. It's pretty heavy because of all the texturing. It's a nice warm blanket for those cold months. Come on back for more projects and be sure to hit subscribe and like this video. Thanks so much.